Hi, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Take a real chair in this virtual classroom of ours. We're excited to have you. This is a short and sweet webinar, so we're going to jump right in. As people are coming in, we are recording this session, so if you have to step away or miss a few things, don't worry, you will get a chance to rewatch it. My name is Rachel Hutchison. I am the Senior Manager of Online Instructional Design here at NHSA, and I am very excited to bring you this second in our webinar series on tackling behaviors that challenge us. Today, we are going to focus on teaching by asking and using our listening skills, which can be challenging when you're dealing with a behavior that's challenging you. But before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. Everybody's on mute, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to do our best to answer them as we go on. Our fabulous presenters are really good at that, so we welcome your questions and your challenging situations. The certificate of completion will be sent to you in an email after this webinar is done, so you can watch for that. And now I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Most of you are going to know the fabulous Dr. Deb Bergeron, formerly the director of the Office of Head Start and now Deputy Director of Innovation and Community Engagement here at NHSA, and Hayes Greenfield, who is the creator of the Greenfield Method and creative sound play, which uses sound and silence to enhance early learning and create positive classroom environments. Okay, so as I mentioned, today we're going to focus on questions. And usually we think about questions as something that children throw at us. They're constantly asking questions. That never ends. But how many are you asking in return? Especially when it comes to behaviors that challenge us. We're taking a different approach to listening today. We're going to think about listening to the kids. What does it mean for us as adults in a learning environment to listen in an early education environment, especially when the behaviors are on the rise? And why is it important? So we're going to throw that to Dr. B to go first.
Thanks, Rachel. As always, it's great to be here. These webinars have become my favorite because they're like little nuggets that you can take back with you in your classrooms, or if you are a coach and share with other teachers, try them out, see how they work. I think Rachel always says that these are not going to be these, there's no band-aid for this, so we're not going to be able to provide you in 30 minutes with like, we're done, but we can give you some good thinking. So when we think about, and one of the things that I want to say at the outset, particularly for this particular topic on listening, is I teach a class called Trust First, and there are 10 skills that we teach in that class. They all intertwine with each other, but listening is a through line through the whole thing. So trying to isolate listening is a little bit challenging in a short amount of time. I'm going to do my best. But the bottom line, when it comes for listening and questioning in terms of managing behavior, is the more that we can engage children in their own agency, the more we diffuse the desire to, say, act out. That's a phrase we use a lot. So you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So what I mean by that is a big part of Trust First is really putting children at the center of their own space and taking the teacher out of the orchestration of everything. And so I'm going to use one example here, and then I'm going to circle back later with something else. But I want to just say that one of the tenets of Trust First that's really important is something we called ARF. And ARF is basically the human makeup. It's 4 things that we all need. I don't care if you're 4 or 40 in order to feel kind of level. And it's achievement, respect, freedom, and fun. And where questioning can be really helpful when it comes to listening to children to analyze or to understand their behaviors, it's understanding which one of those 4 things isn't being met. So it might be asking the question. If you've taught ARF to your children, they will get used to the language and they'll tell you what's not being met. If you haven't gotten there yet and you're just thinking in those terms, it's a matter of looking at the behavior and the situation and deciding which of those 4 needs isn't being met. Are they not feeling successful? Are they feeling a lack of respect or love? Are they feeling locked in where they don't have choice? And the only thing I can do is act out and then I can control that. Or is there a need for just some like unadulterated fun where they just need to let loose? And if you can think through that as a teacher, that's listening with your brain to analyze a behavior and maybe fill the bucket, and you don't even have to address it. Like it almost just remedies itself at that point. So I'm going to start with listening from the standpoint of uh, knowing that that behaviors are communicating something to you as a teacher, and looking at that as a form of communication from the child's standpoint. So as a teacher, we need to be listening to that behavior, and I put it through an ARF lens in order to figure out what needs to be filled up to smooth things out. So that's how I'm going to get started, Rachel.
I really love that, Dr. B, when you talk about thinking about what a child needs is listening to their behavior. That's exactly where it starts. So since we're talking about listening, Hayes,
Well,
let's get
I
your
have,
take on this too.
first of all, I want to say thank you for being here. It's wonderful to be here with you, Rachel and Dr. B. And once again, you make me laugh inside and just, I love what you just said. I love ARF. It's so wonderful. So what I come to the table with everybody out there is about it's about tuning into sound. And we all really tune out sound. We've like developed, we're masters of tuning out sound. And something that I think is really wonderfully helpful for teachers and for the agency that Dr. Deb just spoke about, Dr. B, it's about taking mindful moments with your students and just listening quietly, actively listening where you are, and asking questions as to what you heard. And what this simple activity is doing is that you're giving license and opportunity to your children to just stop and listen and then discuss what they heard. And when you do this, you find that they're hearing all the things that we're hearing. And then we can begin to make sound in intentional ways and make a sound go from loud to quiet. Because maybe there's a fan in the room that's zooming along or something. And then there's something else that maybe there's some people in the hallway that walk by. And you're identifying, are those people kids? Are they laughing? Are they adults? Are they men? Are they women? Are they boys? Are they girls? Maybe you're in a gymnasium and you're listening to the sounds and you're saying, wow, these are very echoey sounds. And it's hard to even understand somebody's words when they're talking in a gym because they're bouncing off. It's a lot of reverb. And then you go to the classroom and you're listening and it's got a completely different texture of sound. And all of a sudden it's drier and you can hear people speak better. You can hear their words because the sound isn't bouncing off the walls. And what we're doing when we're doing that, we're providing opportunity for children to tune into the moment, to tune into the sounds. And as they begin to listen and then make different sounds, when someone is really loud, you might say, hey, I bet you can't make that same sound quiet. And they'll stop and they'll make it quiet and then say, make that same sound a little louder. And they'll make it louder, make it really loud. They'll make it really loud. And what this opportunity that you're doing for them is to realize that what they do makes a difference and how they do it makes a difference. So you've given them license and opportunity to take time to listen, identify, talk. Where is it coming from? Where the sound is? It behind? Is it to the left? Is it above? Does it move around you? And then make a deliberate intentional sound. And when you do that, you immediately plug into executive function skills, mindfulness, and you're doing it together. So it's social emotional learning. I'm beginning to go a little far. I think that's good for now.
That's really great, Hayes, because it's another way of thinking about listening to children. They don't have to be saying anything. They can literally just be verbalizing in various ways and giving them that agency. I knew you'd have an example, but giving them that agency is such a great word of giving them control over something when they maybe don't feel like they have a whole lot of it, which can help a lot with developing that social emotional skill of being able to control behaviors that communicate in maybe not so controllable ways. So let's talk about strategies. We kind of laid the foundation of what listening can look like and why it's important. So now let's talk about what are some practical ways that we can respond to what's being communicated through a challenging behavior. So you're in a situation in a learning environment, child is trying to tell you something in a way that is disruptive in the classroom in some way, shape, or form. You can take that any way you want to go. But let's talk about practical ways teachers can use listening and questions to add insight to what's happening with that child. Hayes, you wanted to tackle that one first?
Sure. I might ask a child, like I said, if a child is really loud and it's jarring when someone's loud. So one of the things that usually a teacher may do is be punitive and say, stop, don't say that loud sound. You're too loud. Use your inside voice, not your outside voice. And instead, if you're listening to the child and you're hearing that the child is really loud, challenge the child to make it quiet. Give them the opportunity to focus, engage, make it quiet, then make it medium, make it loud, make it quiet. So, and the beauty about sound is that it's immediate. And it lets them know as they're making the sound that they can control it, that they can take agency, that they're part of a larger community, that they can understand, oh, when I'm that loud, it might make you feel uncomfortable. And nobody wants to necessarily do that, except, at sometimes when you just, want to have fun and you're just blowing off steam. So that's one way. There's another way, there's a teacher that I taught that was having kids who were trying to do a jigsaw puzzle and couldn't get it in the last piece in the hole. It was slamming down on the desk, the piece. And instead of saying, don't slam, she slammed her hand down on the desk because she was aware of sound. And all of a sudden, the kid like stands back and goes, and then he slams down again, and then she slammed down a little softer. He slammed. They ended up having a conversation, getting soft and quiet. Another teacher who was working with her, who knew about sound, threw in a clap, and all of a sudden, it got the child's attention to realize and then to self-regulate. So it's about listening to sound. We all tune it out. We are masters of tuning out sound. What we need to all do is really tune in, stop being so sound asleep, because we really are sound asleep. Wake up, tune in. And the thing that's so beautiful about sound, especially with a child, and think about this. You can have a child who's about ready to eat an ice cream cone. And if you say to that child, wait, I bet you can't make a loud sound, they're going to stop and make a loud sound. And then say, I bet you can't make a quiet sound. And then say, okay, eat your ice cream cone. But think about the fact that the child is going to stop, isn't going to eat, it's going to make sound. How profound is that? So it's your friend, everybody. If you listen and you listen to what the children are saying, and I love, Deb, what you were saying about listening to their frustration, they're having respect for them so that if they're so as they might be acting out that term, maybe they're acting out of frustration because they're not able to be heard. They're not able to communicate their feelings. Maybe they're cold and they're not able to say I'm cold, or they don't have they're having trouble deciphering language. And if you just take a moment and stop and stop back and go, whoa, and we listen to it, maybe they don't, like Rachel, as you were saying, maybe they don't have to use words. Maybe they can go, blah, 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 beep, and have a dialogue with just silly sounds.
I have a great segue, Rachel. Hayes just set me up. So let me take ARF, which I've already talked about, and I'm going to use Hayes's example. And what Hayes is giving you are sound strategies that fit beautifully into the whole Trust First umbrella. So you've got a child, last puzzle piece, it won't fit, and they're slamming it. What part of ARF is he missing? This is where you're listening to the behavior. Anybody want to put it in the chat before I say it out loud? What part of ARF is missing if that puzzle piece won't go in the hole? Thank you. We don't have a lot of time. Achievement. Thank you. So when Hayes uses the teacher uses a mirrored slamming to regain attention, and they play a little game back and forth. What have we done with that? Now we're playing a copycat game. All of a sudden, achievement gets filled. The puzzles piece still isn't in the hole. The puzzle piece maybe still needs to figure out how to get that to fit in, but you've still filled the achievement bucket, because now what you've done is played a little copycat game where the child feels successful because he's copying your sound. So what I want to do is take that ARF concept and bring it through to behavior. And then I want to share one other little party favor with you, okay? And I get to share with you this really cool, real experience I had yesterday. So I teach Trust First, full disclosure, with my sister, who is an art teacher in Colorado. And I happen to be in Colorado, so I got to go see her teach. You would have thought she would have given the kids a script to show me our work in action. She has been teaching ARF all year. She does it every year. And she teaches a very high ELL population. And it's art. Art gets loud. Got to a point where you could feel the energy, up, up, sound, up, up. And she walked over to her ARF on her wall and just pointed to it. And a little girl who has almost no English, because I couldn't even talk to her about what her name is, looked and said, fun. Respect. Must be the same. Fun, respect must be equal. She knew everyone was having more fun than they were showing respect, and they needed to even it out. And as soon as she shared that with the class, the entire class got refocused. The teacher didn't have to say anything. She just pointed to her ARF wall. I'm sharing that with you because this concept of ARF is truly, I was going to say magical. It's not. It's physiological. It is literally what we need as humans. And it sounds silly, maybe sounds kitschy, but it's not. If you start to implement this into your classroom as a culture, it does not happen overnight. You have to teach each word. They have to understand what they mean. We use a car as an example where all four tires are equally inflated. And when a car's tires are inflated, it travels smoothly. But a car with one flat tire doesn't move. And kids know that. So they understand that. That's how you use this long term for behavior, and how you can listen to a child's needs through what they are doing and what they are missing. But I'm going to pivot, because what we like in this 30 minutes is a little bit more concrete party pit favors, because that one you can take back, but it's not going to, you're not going to like stick it in there tomorrow. You're going to have to work on it over time. But the idea of asking questions versus telling is a wonderful new strategy that you can start tomorrow, where you just decide you are no longer going to use sentences with a period at the end of them when you're talking to children about behavior. You're going to start using questions instead. And there is a little sort of sacred 4 questions that we teach in Trust First, and I'm going to put them in the chat. And let's give an example. Everyone's supposed to come to the carpet. This is an easy one for us. And Jose is over at the blocks. The blocks are much more interesting than the carpet right now. So you have all kinds of choices as to how you get Jose over to the carpet. Most of us will say, Jose, please go to the carpet. That's pretty standard. Polite, but we don't do that in Trust First. We use more child-centered action things. This is one strategy. I have a few more I could share with you, but related to questions. You would say, Jose, what are you supposed to be doing? What do you need to be doing? Allow him to tell you it's circle time. What are you doing? I'm playing at the blocks. The blocks are more fun. When are you going to get started? And do you need my support? So you're going through a series of questions that basically confirms that Jose knows what he's supposed to be doing and knows what he is doing. And that order is important. You're not starting with what he is doing because that's focusing on his missing the behavior. We don't want to we want to go to the solution. We don't want to focus on the problem. So what are you supposed to be doing? Now, maybe he really doesn't know and you're going to have to support him. Or maybe you've got a sarcastic 4-year-old who isn't going to tell you what he's supposed to be doing. There are all kinds of things that could happen here. But the idea is that you are putting the agency on the child. What are you supposed to be doing? What are you doing? You're going to get to the carpet, and do you need my support? Do you need some support? There are things you can do after that. No answer, or they say, yes, I need support, or I don't want your help, or I hate this school, or you can get all kinds of different answers that you're going to have to respond to. But 99 times out of 100, those 4 questions will get Jose to the carpet with you doing absolutely nothing except asking questions. And what happens over time is you only need 1 question because they already know what other 3 questions are coming. They've heard them enough. So as soon as you say, what are you supposed to be doing? Or what do you need to be doing? They go, I know it's carpet time. And they put their blocks away and they walk to the carpet because they know what's happening. You've trained them to listen to you, that you mean what you say. And there's really nothing that's going to happen there that's going to prevent him from getting to that carpet and participating. You know, question about 2 to 3-year-olds. I think Trust First has to be gauged, has to be used in conjunction with your children's abilities. And 2 to 3 years old has some benchmarks, but I don't always know where your 2 to 3-year-olds are. So it does kind of depend. But think about the essence of what the point of that is. The point of that is to put the agency on the child. So a 2 to 3-year-old, I'm trying to think of a scenario where a 2 to 3-year-old knows or you've been teaching, I want to say they know, sometimes they do forget. They know the expectation, but they aren't ready to engage with it. How can you ask questions instead of using statements so that you're doing the work for them? That's the key. So you might have to adjust some of this to meet the need of the specific child and where they are. You know your kids better than I do. But at the core of that is really the idea that you are engaging a child in an active way and not pushing the information onto them with expectation that they're just going to do what you tell them to do. Usually challenging behaviors are coming up because there's a conflict. And so you don't want to exacerbate that conflict. I see lots of questions, Rachel, that I can try to get that.
Yeah, we actually got a lot of conversation happening in the chat. People answering
Good.
each other's questions too, which is great.
Oh, great.
The one that we always get is, what if they just won't do it?
Right. So what was the last question? Do you need support? If they either say yes or they don't answer, not answering is saying I need support. And there's a whole series of things we would do after that with regard to support. And that can come in a number of different layers depending on how much resistance you're getting. So if you need support, if the answer is silence, and you say, well, your silence is telling me, I'm going to count down from 3. And if I don't get an answer, then you're telling me you want my support. No problem. And remember, this is no sarcasm in the voice. It's a sincere, it has to come from an honest, sincere place. You really are there to support them because you're a teacher and that's your job and you're excited about it. They don't answer, you say, okay, Jose, it sounds like you need support today. No problem. I'm so good at picking up blocks. I'm going to come support picking up the blocks with you. We're putting them away. Where do they go, Jose? I forgot where they go. Again, I'm telling you, you're whittling down your problems because most kids would love to show you where the blocks go. Do you need to hold my hand to get to the carpet today, or can you do it by yourself? Do you want to jump to the carpet or walk to the carpet? You want to hop on one foot? You can use all kinds of little strategies for support. You all already know this stuff. But the idea is that you're giving them the option to get the support. Here's what happens. You're going to end up with, and see, we're already almost at time, Rachel. I told you this a lot. You're going to end up with a couple of things that are going to happen when you start using this. Number one, kids already know you mean what you say and you are not giving up on them. So again, you're funneling your issues because most kids are going to say, well, I already know I'm not going to get to play with the blocks. That isn't an option. So she's narrowing my options because I've been in this classroom now for 6 months and I already know she means what she says. So most kids are just going to jump to it. But you get to that point where you've got so much resistance, they need something else. Something else is going on. And so now you're really going to support them. And like a couple of options might be, Jose, we might need to practice moving from the block center to the carpet. So today, during whatever, I'm going to show you how you can pack up your blocks and move to the carpet and we'll practice it. And that's where you get excited about teaching. It's always about teaching. It's never about reward and punishment or baiting or any of that. It's teaching. Teach him how to come to the carpet. Have him practice it 5 times until he gets so tired of coming to the carpet from block center that he says, I get it. I know how to do it. And that's great. Now he knows you're willing to stop and support. You are a teacher. You love what you do. It creates a completely different frame of mind. And not only that, every other child has seen you do that in the classroom. So you are creating a standard for all of your children by dealing with just one situation. Okay,
That's
I'll stop.
beautiful. Can I just make a comment on one thing about with 3-year-olds?
Yeah, go right ahead, Hayes.
Okay, when and I love everything you just said, Dr. B, just amazing. And when you give children opportunity to listen to sounds and then make all different kinds of sounds. I have multiple teachers, directors with 3-year-olds talking about 3-year-olds. And the 3-year-olds come in and it's loud in the classroom, it gets loud. And the 3-year-old will say, it's too loud in here. Can we quiet down? Because they've had the opportunity and license to listen, make different sounds. And think about a 3-year-old with that kind of reflexive ability to feel uncomfortable, assess the situation, and then know what the problem is. So it's just listening.
And as we started this session off by saying, none of these are band-aids. A lot of the questions in the chat are, but what if, but what if, but what if? Nobody is saying that this is like something you can drop into the classroom tomorrow and it will be magic and fairy tales and rainbows every day. It's a strategy, it's a tool, and it will help. And as you start to build your classroom culture around trust and around listening and around respect and around understanding what children need, things will shift and they will change. But there will probably still be need for more interventions. There will be need for more support. So that's going to be leaning on your team and your expertise to make sure that every child's needs are being met in the classroom. But I encourage you to join us. We're going to take a break in December. We know that's a crazy month for everyone, but we'll be back in January. And we're going to talk about releasing expectations, which is a huge part of answering a lot of the questions that are still in the chat right now. So please join us in January. And if you want to dig deeper into these subjects, half hour is just enough time to skim the surface. But we have classes, as Dr. B said, that we offer every fall, every spring. We have our spring cohort open now. There's seats available. And we also have a discount code for you. So if you go to our website and sign up for this class, we will give you, if your program is an NHSA member, so are you. And so you can get literally 65% off the cost of what we normally would charge for this class. We want you there. We want you to learn these strategies and develop that positive environment in your classroom. In the meantime, there's lots of stuff going on before we get to any of that. We have tomorrow, we are having a info session for our garden grant that we offer every year. Gardening with kids is a wonderful way to help them explore and build their social emotional learning capacity, which is a big part of how they learn how to communicate their feelings, and can help you with a lot of these behaviors. We also have a garden story time on Thursday where we're going to go through a storybook with one of our kids gardening partners, and our fabulous and fun Pinky Jackalope will be there as well. And then we invite you to join us for NHSA and the zoo in the classroom in December. We are going to be talking, we're going to be meeting with a couple of our furry friends at the Smithsonian National Zoo. So you're welcome to sign up for all of that All that will be in your follow-up email. And again, we're just at time. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming. We appreciate you and all the hard work that you're doing. Stay strong. Love those kids. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.